Welcome to the BIDMAS with algebra revision video. Don't worry, there's not actually that much algebra in it. Objectives, making sure you can calculate mathematical operators in the correct order. So I'm talking about your multiply, divide, add and subtract. We're going to do this by reviewing BIDMAS and then we're going to practice calculations. And what comes next is next week I'll be taking this a step further. So it is worth going through this video. BIDMAS then, what is the correct answer to this calculation? I think by now a lot of students will be familiar with this approach. There are actually two different answers to this. So you could say that the answer is 20. Let me go back. If you've been watching other videos, you know that by now I've got a pen problem. The first answer could be 20 because you might do 4 plus 6, which is 10, times 2, which is 20. Or you might decide to do the 6 times 2 first, which is 12, add the 4, which is 16. So even though with the answer 20, I just read it from left to right, because there is more than one type of math symbol, there is a correct way of doing it. And so the correct answer here is 16. And the reason for that is because of BIDMAS. So here is a quick reminder of what BIDMAS stands for, as most of you will have done this in the past. So brackets, anything literally within a pair of brackets. So if I could do this, 6 plus 4, you have to solve that first. So obviously that equals 10. Indices, these are to the power of. So for example, 5 to the power of 2 doesn't mean 5 times 2, it means 5 times 5. Or you might have something like 5 to the power of 3, which is 5 times 5 times 5. They've got the next level of priority. And then division and multiplication, they have the same level of priority. So for example, if you see something that says 5 times 10 divided by 2, we'll keep the numbers simple, which one do you do first? Because they are the same level of priority. So when we have this problem, we do just read left to right. So I would do 5 times 10, which is 50, divided by 2, which equals 25. And then we've got add and subtract. They are at the lowest of the low of the BIDMAS priority here. If you have add and subtract, next to each other, they have the same level of priority. So again, you will just read them left to right like you would do the divide and multiply. Let's actually apply them. So I've split this into 3 levels, bronze, silver and gold. So let's start with bronze then. And I'm just going to write up here a quick reminder of BIDMAS. So I would always start by having a look at what are the maths operators. So we've got an add, we've got a set of brackets, and we've got a subtract. So looking over at our BIDMAS here, what comes first? Well, B for brackets is right at the top. So before we even look at add and subtract, we're just going to take a look at these brackets first. So the brackets are telling us that what we need to do is actually take away. So 17 take away 3 is actually 14. So this can now be replaced with 14. I wouldn't actually scribble it out like that, for things like assessments. I'm just trying to move it out of the way to make it easier for you to see. So 55 add 14, 69. Let's take a look at the next one. So 50 take away 3 squared. What have we got? We've got a takeaway and we've got an indices. So looking over our list, I for indices comes first. So 3 squared, that means 3 times 3, which is 9. So it's actually 50 take away 9, and that equals 41. Next one. 900 take away 300 divided by 3. So we've got 2 math symbols in here. We've got a take away and we've got a divide. So looking at our list, divide comes first. That has a higher level of priority, so we're going to do that first, and then we're going to deal with the subtracting later. So imagine then, let me just get rid of that. I'm just going to put a pair of brackets around there. It kind of visually reminds me that that's what I'm applying the division to. So 300 divided by 3 is 100. So that is actually 100. So what we're seeing now is just that, which equals 800. Last one on the bronze level, we have a multiply and we have a divide. Going over here, oh, divide and multiply, they have the same level of priority. So, I mean, what do we do first? Well, when they're the only ones in there and they are the same level, we have to read them from left to right. So 40 times 2 is 80. And then we're going to divide by 1.6. Oh, that's a big 6, isn't it? 80 divided by 1.6 is 50. And that's bronze level. Silver. So we've got the same stuff as before, except now we've got what looks like fractions. Now, in higher levels of calculations, if you see, I'm just going to do an example here. In this context, in this situation, this doesn't mean a fraction 40 over 5. What it means is actually to divide. So it's a new posh way of dividing. Okay. Now when you have this extra layer in, you have to do that final division. That's last. I know this is BIDMAS, and I know that I've said that things have their order. Sorry, I skipped on ahead then. But in this situation, when you have that line, you're going to have to do that last. Okay. Let's look at our first one then. So we're going to solve the top line first, and then solve the bottom line, and then we're going to divide. So the top line is 4 plus 24, well that equals 28. So we finish that. Looking at the bottom line, there's nothing there to solve. What we're left with is 28 divided by 2, and we can do that. That's 14. Next, let's solve the top line. So what do we have? We have a subtract sign, and we have an indices or to the power of. Looking at our BIDMAS diagram on the right hand side, indices comes first. So just as a reminder, I'm just going to write it in the top here. 7 squared means 7 times 7, and that's 49. So I'm getting a step closer to the top line. So what we've got is 189 take away 49. Now looking at the bottom line, there's nothing to solve there, it's just the number 2 again. I still need to solve this top line. 189 take away 49 is 140. And we're going to divide that by 2. Oh, my funny pen, I'll do its old tricks again. 140 divided by 2 is 70. And last but not least, remember I'm going to solve the top line first, then the bottom line, then I'm going to divide. Well, there's nothing to solve here on top. Nothing to see here. It's just 560. Let's take a look at the bottom. We've got add, we've got brackets and times. Oh, B for brackets, that comes first. So whatever inside that brackets, 25 times 2, that's 50. So what I have now is 30 plus 50. Still got to keep going. So that 560 on top's the same. And then there is 80 down at the bottom. 560 divided by 80 is 7. Okay. And last but not least, gold level, where letters replace numbers. This isn't the scenario where I'm telling you, what is X and what's Y, what's T, what's S. We're going to tell you what they are, and you're going to use them inside a calculator. Sorry, not a calculator, a calculation. You could be using a calculator. So I'm going to use A equals 10 and B equals 5. It could be any letter and it could be any number. But I'm going to use those for each of these calculations. To our first one, we have a plus 25. Well, in this case, a equals 10. So actually, it's 10 plus 25, and that equals 35. So that wasn't too bad. Next one down, 6a. When a number and a letter are right next to each other, there's no gaps, no spaces, right next to each other, it actually means to multiply. So 6a means 6 times a. So what does a stand for again? A is 10. So it's 6 times 10, which equals 60. Next, 400 plus 7b. This is where I'm just going to write my BIDMAS up here again. Oh, I've done that wrong, haven't I? Oh, what a pain. There we go. There we go. So 400 plus 7b. We've got an addition, but we also have a times here. So what comes first? M for multiply comes before A for addition. So 7 times B. What is B? B is 5. So just underneath, I'm going to do 7 times 5. Well, that equals 35. So this bit here I could replace with 35. So 400 plus 35 equals 435. Okay, I'm going to go over to the right hand side here now. 3b minus 100 divided by 10. What have we got? We've got multiply, a take away, and a divide. Right, what comes first? What has the highest level of priority? Dividing and multiplying do. Now, if they're both in there, how do we do that one? Well, we just do them from left to right. So that means that we'll do the multiplying first, then we'll be doing the dividing, then we'll be doing the subtracting. So the timesing, 3 times b. What is b? B is 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. So this part is going to be replaced with 15. I'm going to write the rest in because I like doing these step by step. Now what comes next? We've got subtract and divide. Well, the dividing comes next. So let's imagine, just to help me visualize it, there's some brackets there. So 100 divided by 10 is 10. So what we're actually left with is 15 take away 10, which is 5. We've got one more to go and we've done it. Okay, so now we're back to another one of these divisions that looks like a big fraction. So remember, we're going to solve the top part first, solve the bottom part, and then we're going to divide. Right, top part first, 15a. So remember, that means we're going to times, and then we've got an add. What we're going to do first, multiplying comes first. I hear you shout out to the crowd. So 15 times a. Remember that a is 10. So 15 times 10. We'll write all this out. And then that top line says we're going to add 50 on top as well. That would actually be 150 add 50. So that top line finally comes down to 200. The bottom line, we have got b squared. So b is 5, so that's 5 squared. So that's actually 5 times 5, and that's 25. So it's 200 divided by 25, which equals 8. And yay, we've done it. So those were the objectives. Basically applying BIDMAS with and without algebra, and just watch out for the big fractions that are actually dividing when that part has to be done last. And that's it. Thank you very much.